This conference will now be recorded.
So, welcome to our today's class. In our previous class, we covered the concepts of the OOPS programming language. Okay, that is what are the features which are available in the OOPS and what is the necessity of the object-oriented programming and what are the differences between the procedural programming and object-oriented programming. And we have also already seen that what are the different features and example for the each and every feature. Okay, example classes, example real-time classes of the for the features. Okay, so today we will see the implementation of the class and object using the Python programming language. Okay, those features are the common for any of a language. Okay, say for example, if a language is developed based on the object-oriented programming features, okay, then those object-oriented programming features are the common for the that language also. Okay, so in general, at present we have the object-oriented languages are Java and C++, C Sharp, VB.NET, Python, and R language. Okay, these are the some of the object-oriented programming languages we have already. Okay, so all these languages uses the same features, but some languages supports the maximum features, some languages supports some of the partial features of the object-oriented program. Okay, so Python supports all the features of the object-oriented programming. Okay, so that we can develop the different applications of the object-oriented programming using the Python. Okay, Python is itself, it is developed with the object-oriented programming concepts, so that it is easy to develop the other applications with the object-oriented programming also. Okay, so now we'll get into the topic. Okay, outcome of our topic is that is we can we already know the concepts of the program object-oriented programming. Now we'll see how to implement those concepts with the help of the Python programming language. Okay, so this is the creating of a class. Okay, so in our previous class we just gone through this topic. Okay, once again we will see that okay how the class is created. Okay, so what is mean by the class? What is mean by the class? Can anyone respond in the chat box? What is the meaning of class? Can you give me example with the class? A class is a user defined data type, or we can call it as abstract data type. Okay, class is a abstract data type which is used to create the user defined data type with our required number of variables and with our required number of required methods. Okay, so that user defined data type we can use to create to specify the required data members as a collection. Okay, so whenever you want to make the multiple data as a collection, then we can go for the user defined data type class. Okay, so here in the class we have the declaration of the class starts with the class keyword, and then here it is the class name, class space class name. Okay, here it is a space, class is a keyword, space class name. So class name is it supports all the restrictions of the identifiers. Okay, say for example, if an identifier is to be created, the identifier should satisfy some properties. Okay, all those properties has to be satisfied by the class name also. Like starting letter must be the alphabet, and name must contain either underscore symbol, digits, and characters. Okay, those all characteristics to be satisfied by the class name also. And it must be unique. It should not be repeated for any other variable or for any other class. Okay, so after the class name, we'll start the code with a colon. Okay, so after the colon, I will be use the indentation of the Python. Okay, the Python indentation is for after the first three letters, we need to start from the fourth letter. Okay, so start from the fourth letter. Here you have the two sections. Here one is the variables, the data member section. Another one is the member functions section. Okay. So whatever the variables which you want to use as a class variables, okay, those you can declare at the beginning of the class declaration. Okay. So if you want to if you want to specify any default value for that variable, you can mention the default value. And the member functions are, you can write all the member functions with the same declaration of the normal function creation. def keyword space the function name and parameters, and you can write the code for the function. Okay. So this is the class declaration. Okay. So once you are declared the class, you can use that class by creating the object of the class. Okay. So here we'll see the example of the class. The class name is the party animal is the class name, colon, start the class code. Here we are creating a one class variable as a x equals to 0. Okay. And is a member method. Okay, def, the party is the function name and self is a parameter. Okay, this parameter which points to the current instance of the class. Okay. Current instance of the class. Okay, that is nothing but whatever the object which is present using the class, okay, that we will call it as the current instance of the class. Okay, so that current instance you can point out with the help of the self parameter. Okay, so whenever you want to access the class variables or instance variables, you can use the self keyword dot the variable name, self dot x. That is, I am using this x variable here. Self dot x equals to self dot x plus 1. Initially the value with the x variable is 0, so here it substitutes the 0 plus 1. So now the x variable value is 1. Okay, print the self dot x variable value. Okay, it prints the value within the x variable. Okay, so this is the creation of the class is over. We created the one class variable and we created a one method. Okay, member function. Okay, now outside the class, once you are coming out of the class, okay, there you can create the object for the class. Okay, that object creation is with the object name, that is an is the object name, equals to the party animal is the class name and brackets. Okay, so now it creates a one new object for the class as a an. Okay. So whenever it creates the object, it allocates the memory for the class. Okay, then it creates the object for the class. That is, for that memory, it allocates a name. Okay, that name is the object. Okay. So now I'm calling the function of the class, member function of the class, an dot party function. Okay, once it is called, okay, the control goes to this particular function. Okay, and executes the code. Self dot x equals self dot x plus 1, 0 plus 1. It is incremented to the 1, and that is printed here. So for the first function, the output of the x value is 1. And for the second function, again it go to the same function for the second time, and it is trying to take the self dot x variable. Here the x variable is created as a class variable. Okay, so the same variable is shared by all the objects of the class. Okay, or the same variable is used by the different function calls. Okay, because the x variable is a global variable in the class. So whatever the x value you have in the previous function call, okay, that is 1 is the previous function call x value. So 1 plus 1. Okay, now the x value is 2. So you'll get the output of the second function as 2. And for the third time, whenever you call the function an dot party function, again third time it calls the same function and takes the previous x value, that is the 2, the previous x value. Now it becomes the x value as 3. So you'll get the third function output as the 3. Okay. So like this, you can get the value of the x variable for the number of executions of the same function. Okay. So because x variable is created as a global variable to the class, or we can also call it as a class variable, okay, so that you can access the same variable value for the different calls of the functions. Okay, that is same an object has a variable x. The same variable is used by the party function. You get the the incremented values of that same variable. Okay. So this is the example for the class. Okay, just we are creating a one data member and one member function, and we are seeing how to create the object and how to call the member function of the class. Okay, whenever you want to call the member function of a class, you'll be use the object dot the member function. Okay, even it is a variable, we'll use the same object dot the data member. Okay, then only we can access the data member or the member function of the class. Okay, without the object, you cannot call any function within the class. Okay, using the object only, we can call the function. Okay, why? Because whenever you create the class, it creates a one block of the memory space for the class, and it is assigned with the name of a block as the AN, that is object name of the class AN, and this block has the one data member, that is X. It is initialized with a 0 initially, and it has a one member function is the party function. Okay, so whenever you want to access these party function or X variable, okay, you can go through this name of the block only. Okay, without this name of the block, these two function or variable are not accessible outside the class. Okay, so that we'll use the object name dot the X variable object name dot member function. Okay, is this clear? Creating of a class, creating of class and creating the object for the class. Where is the 56?
Personal chat, madam.
Blueprint, it's okay, correct. Okay, class is nothing but we can also call it as a blueprint of the data. Okay, next we'll go through the creation of this class through the Python program. We'll see the example for this. I will share my another window. Okay. So here we'll see how to write the class and how to create the object for the class and the creating of a method. Okay. So this is the class. Class is a student class, and we created a variable as x equals to 0, and we created a member function as incr member function, and self is the parameter for the function. Okay, are you able to see this window? Are you
Yes,
able to see this my screen? I'm showing program.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, increment incr is the function, and I'm incrementing the x variable self dot x equal to self dot x plus 1, and show that value x variable value. Okay, now I'm creating the object for that s equal to student, and I'm calling the same function for 3 times. Okay. Okay, now it shows the x values as x equals to 1, x equals to 2, and x equals to 3. Okay, say for example, for the same class, if I'm creating another object, then I can create as s1 equals to student. So here it creates another object for the class. Okay, now if I'm calling the s1 dot incr, the value of the x variable. Okay. So now again it starts from the 1. Okay, why? Because the variable created for the s1 is it's a new variable which is created for the s1, and again it is initialized with a 0, so that whenever you call with the s1 dot increment function, okay, then it shows the x equals to 1. Okay, can you see what is the self for the this second object creation? The second time I created the object for the student class, okay, which is pointed by the self here. Self parameter ఇక్కడ మనం క్రియేట్ చేసిన ఈ సెకండ్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ లో దేని పాయింట్ అవుట్ చేస్తుంది? S1. Okay. And in the first object creation,
Yes.
is S. Okay. So that we have two different blocks of our memory space for the same class. Okay, S is a one object. It has a one copy of a X variable and it has one copy of increment function. And as the same way, S1 is another block of the memory space for the same student class. It has a one different copy of a X variable and it has a different copy of the increment function. Okay, so that whenever you call with the S1 dot increment, you will get the X variable of the S1 object. Okay, you didn't get the X variable of the S object. Okay, so you'll get it its own variable of the S1 object. Okay, so you can also create other classes with a number of other variables. Say for example class. So point is a class name. And here I am creating the variables as X is the one variable which is assigned with the 1. Another variable I have is the Y is assigned with the 1. And I want to define a function def. Okay. And define the function as new point. Okay, I want to take a new point values. Okay, self is a default parameter. You don't miss the self parameter. Okay, once after giving the self parameter, you can give the any another parameters also. Say for example, a comma b. I'm giving the two other parameters for the new point function. Here I want to assign the x equals to a and y equals to b. Okay, here there's a one function is over. Okay, I want to define the another function. Display the point. Display. Here also you require the self parameter. Then you can display your point values. And x equals to the x point value x and y equals to the y point value. Okay, comma y variable. Okay, now you have created the class. Point class is created. Now you can create the object for the point class. P equals to point. It created the object. Now we'll call the member functions of the class. The first member function is the new point. P dot new point. Okay, for this you have to send the two parameters. That is a b values you need to send. So 10 comma 20. The initial values are 1 1. But now I am sending the values is by a equals to 10, b is the 20. Okay, now I can print the values p dot display. Okay, it prints the values of the point. Okay, sorry, here I got the error. Sorry. Here I used the xy variables directly. Okay, sorry. Self dot x, self dot y. Okay, here also we require the self dot x and self dot y. Then only you can access the class variables. Okay, x is the 10, y is the 20 now. Okay, say if I am printing the xy values before calling the new point function, display, then you'll get the x equals to 1, y equals to 1. Okay, because we initialized initially with the x as the 1, y as the 1. So those values you can display without calling the new point function. Okay, it shows directly the xy values as the 1 1. And whenever you call the new point function, there you can change the xy values with the 10 and 20. And then you can call the display function. It shows the 10 and 20 as the xy values. Okay. So this is the creating the functions in the class and creating the variables for the class. So wherever you require those variables of the class, you can call them with the self dot x, self dot y. Okay, like this you can use that variables in the class. Okay. So next we'll go through the next topic of our classes. Cases program is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if it is required, note down this example. Point class and student class. Okay. So meanwhile, just remember this example and note down. Okay. So you need not to note down this in 14, in 16, in those lines. You just note down this code in the boxes. Okay. Whatever the code that is in the boxes, please note down that. Okay. Okay. This I am using a Jupyter window, Jupyter notebook. Okay. So it's not required whatever the software we are using. Okay. Required only the code is Python code. Okay, you can execute this in the any of the Python editors. Okay. Okay, there is no difference of this code with the software. Okay, the code is only with the Python. Okay. Okay. Next, we'll go to the topic is, okay, this is the another class which is created for the account. Okay. This is having some other methods like deposit method to deposit the amount, withdraw method to reduce the amount based on the amount which is to be withdrawn from the account, and balance method which is to be show the present balance within the account, and transfer method which takes the target account number and the amount. Is that it adds the amount into the target account and reduces the amount from the source account. Okay. So these are the some methods are created, and here I have some variables for the each and every method. Okay, just this is only the example of how to create the number of methods within the class. Okay, so I will see one after the other in detail in the next, remaining presentation. Okay, this is calling of the class methods. Next we will see classes as types. Okay, that is how can we use the class as a data type. Okay? Actually, we are saying that class is nothing but a user defined data type. Okay, but we will be check whether it is using as a type or as a normal name. Okay, that we will check here. Okay, so how the class is treated as a data type. Okay, that we check. Okay, so here also the same example, the previous example, party animal class, and we created the object for the party animal class. Okay, now here we are checking that type of the object. Okay, type of AN. Okay, type of AN object. Okay, here it shows the type of the AN. Okay, the output of that line is the type of the type is class. Okay, this is the output for the first print statement. Type is the message which we given, class main dot party animal. Okay, that is this is the party animal class type. Okay, that is this is the data type. Class party animal is the data type for the AN object. Okay, now then we are showing that DIR of AN. Okay, the DIR is nothing but detailed information of any variable. Okay, if you want to see any detailed information of any particular variable, you can use a DIR function. Okay, so here it shows this. This total output is the DIR output. Okay, DIR of class, that is the data type is the class, and we have some attributes. There are some functions and attributes which have a built-in attributes and built-in methods for the class. Okay, actually, whenever you are creating a new class, okay, that is derived from a class is called as the object class. Okay, this is called as a base class for the all the classes in our Python user-defined classes. So whatever the classes you are creating in the Python, for all those classes, okay, this is the parent class. Object is the parent class. Okay, from this only our classes are derived, party animal class. Okay, so that there are some variables in the object class. Okay, those all or exist within your class also. So this del attribute, size of, str, subclass hook, weak reference. Okay, these all are the variables that are derived from the or object class. Okay, those we don't have in the or class, but these all are derived from the object class. That is get from the object class. And we only have one variable in one function. Party is the function, x is the variable. Okay, these we have. Okay, in the type we know the only data type of the class. Here, whenever you use the function dar, you can find out all the variables and functions names also. Variables and member functions names. Okay. So here this type of an dot x, that is it gives the int type because x is the integer variable, and type of an dot party, okay, this is given as method because party is a method. X is a integer data type variable, party is a method. Okay, because here it gives only the party. It doesn't show that whether this party is a variable or a method or any other. Okay, so that we are getting that information with the type of an dot party, type of an dot x. Okay, like this we can check the types of the variables and methods also. Okay, so that we can get the complete information of the particular class. Okay, this is possible whenever the class is treated as a data type only. Okay, so with this example we can confirm that so class is nothing but a user defined data type that is treated as a data type in the Python. As same as our normal data types, we can find out the each and every information of our classes also. Okay. So that further confirmation here we have used the example. Okay. Okay, now these are some of the functions type and dir, and you also try how to get your class information. And you can also work with these methods in classes. Built-in classes. Okay, now we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, next we will see the constructor methods. Okay, so the name itself, it says that constructor, that is construction. Okay, so the construction of the class is done by the special method which is called as a constructor method. Okay, so this constructor method is to construct the class. What is the construction? Okay, here the construction is nothing but allocating the memory space for the class and initializing the class. Okay, that we will call it as the construction. But without this method, can't we construct the class? We can construct the class, but constructor is nothing but the method which is invoked at the time of constructing the class. Okay, this method, it doesn't construct the class. Okay, the method is invoked at the time of construction of the class. Okay. So the constructor method is a method which invoked at the time of constructing the object. Okay, what happened? Maximum of the members are lefting. Is there any problem in the network?
Oh, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if it is a temporary problem, you again you try to join again. Okay. So constructor is a method which is used to call at the time of creating the object. Okay, why we require this constructor method is, okay, this method is required whenever you want to perform any particular code that is to be executed while creating the object. Okay, that is, say for example, while creating the object, I want to allocate the memory space for some variables in the class, or I want to initialize some variables in the class, or I want to execute any other code at the beginning of the class execution. Okay, then you can use the constructor method, and within that method you can write your required code. Okay, so this is only required whenever you want to write the code to be executed at the time of creating the object. Okay, so but without the constructor also our object will be created and our class will be constructed, but only the difference is at the time of construction whatever the code you want to execute, that is executed with the constructor method. And there is another advantage of this constructor method is, okay, this method is need not to be invoked. Okay, that is need not to be called by the object. Okay, called with the object. Okay, you need not to call this constructor function like any other functions. Okay, so the constructor function is automatically invoked whenever you create the object. Okay. Okay, these are the two main points you need to remember. Constructor is a method which is invoked at the time of creating the object. Okay, and this constructor method is invoked itself without invoked by the object. Okay, another thing is the constructor method has a special name in the Python programming language. Okay, not as the other functions. We have a different name for the constructors in the Python. Okay, that name is, okay, here we are using that name, double underscores init and again double underscore symbols. Okay, so this is the name which is used to specify the constructor. Okay, this name cannot be used for the any another functions. Okay, so def double underscore init again double underscore symbol. Okay, double underscores, two underscore symbols. Here also two underscores. Okay, so then this function is treated as a constructor. And it also has a default parameter is the self parameter. Okay, the same example here again we are using party animal class. X is a variable which is initialized with a 0, and init is the constructor. Okay, two underscores init, two underscore symbols, and here we are showing a message as I am constructed. Okay, and again we are writing the same party function, incrementing the x variable and displaying the x variable. Okay, and now we are creating the object for the party animal two brackets, okay, which creates the object for the party animal class. Okay, whenever this object is created, okay, it invokes the constructor function. Okay, this function is executed and it shows a message as I am constructed. Okay, so then it creates the object an, and that object you can use to call the remaining functions of the class an.party, an.party. Okay, so that first you will get the output of your program as I am constructed. Okay, then you will get the output of the party function as 1 and 2. Okay. So this constructor function, actually here we are not writing any function name and others. Just we are creating the object, but itself it calls the constructor method. Okay. So if you are not written any constructor method, it just creates the object. But if you are specifying any constructor method, then it calls that constructor method, executes it. Okay, then it go for the remaining method call. Okay, so this is the constructor method. Remember that about the constructors you need to remember the 3 points. Okay, the first point is it is invoked at the time of creating the object. Second point is this is not invoked by the object, it is invoked itself. And third point is constructor has a different name, not same as the other functions. It has a fixed name within the Python as the init, double underscores init and double underscore. Okay, these 3 points you need to mention while writing about the constructors. Okay, then you can write the whatever the code or whatever the explanation you want to give about the constructors you can give. But these 3 points need to be mentioned while writing about the constructors. Okay. Next, destructors. As we have the constructors, as in the same way for each and every class, there is a destruction also. Okay, why? Because Okay, here the constructor is, we can also specify, like say for example, I have an integer variable, say it is in the C language, int a, and I'm initializing with some 0. Okay, this is, we'll call it as the creation or constructing. Okay, so here we are constructing a variable. Okay, say if this variable is created in a particular scope. Okay, so this variable is destroyed whenever the scope is ended. Okay, it is created here and is destroyed at the whenever the scope is ended for the variable. Okay, but you are not have any significance that whether there is a destruction is done in that statement or in the previous. Okay, but by default, this wherever the scope is ended, okay, that our variable is destroyed. Okay, so this is the construction of the variable, and this is the point where the variable is destroyed. Okay, whenever the scope of the variable is over, then it is destroyed. As in the same way for classes also. Okay, whenever object is created, okay, then that is a construction. Whenever that object scope is ended, that is destroyed from the memory. Okay, so that at the time of destruction of the object, if you want to execute any code, then you can use the destructor method. Okay, so destructor is a method which is executed at the time of destroying the object or at the time of destructing the object. Okay, at that time, if you want to execute any code, like if you want to release the any memory space for the variables, or if you want to do any say saving of a data, or if you want to display any data, okay, or if you want to show any messages to the user, okay, those all we can do within the destructors. Okay. So destructors also have the special name for within the Python. Okay. As the same way of a constructors, we have a different name for the destructors. But there is another difference is, okay, destructor can have only one destructor for the class, but constructors can be more than one for the class. Okay, so constructors can be created more than one for the class, but destructor can be created only one for the class. Okay, we will see how we can create the multiple constructors, okay, in the next PPTs. Okay. So only remember that point also. Okay. Constructors can be more than one for a class, but destructor is only one for the class. Okay. So this is destructor is executed whenever the object is destroyed from the memory. That is nothing but whenever the object is its scope is ended, okay, then the destructor is executed. So here our example is again the same example. Party animal class, X is a variable, and here this init is the constructor for class I am constructed, and party is a member function, okay, which increments the X variable and displays the increment X variable, and del is the function which is, okay. So init is a function for the constructor and del is the function for the destructor. Okay, this is a keyword or a predefined name for the destructors. Has a self parameter, default parameter, and undestructed self dot x. It shows the undestructed message and X variable value also. Okay. Now let's see how this is executed. An equals to party animal. It creates the object, at the same time it calls the constructor of the class also. And now I'm calling the party function for 2 times, so it shows the 1 and 2 are the X variable value. Now here, okay, just observe this. Here we are assigning the an equals to 42. Okay, what happens here? Already we have the an variable which is created as an object for the party animal class, and here we use the an variable. And after that, at the 4th line, we are assigning the an equals to 42. In our Python, we have a facility that any variable can be assigned with any type of a value at any time in the program. Okay, like if a variable is created with a 1 initially, and you are used the a variable for number of times, and after some time you can specify the a equals to 5.0. Okay, what it happens? What here the actually the happens? Can anyone say what happens to here the a variable?
1 is
First, it is
replaced with
created as a int variable, integer variable. Okay, what happens here whenever I assign the 5.0? Whenever we assign the 5.0 for the a variable, what happens here?
integer 1 is replaced with float value 5.
That is here it deletes the variable, that is a variable is deleted from this memory. Okay, this variable is deleted from the memory and it creates a one new variable as a and uses the specifies the data type for the variable as the float and assigns the value 5.0. Okay, because integer variable has either 2 bytes or 4 bytes of a memory space based on the language. Okay, 2 bytes or 4 bytes. Creates a one new variable. Okay, so that as the same case here our variable is also an variable is destroyed from the memory here. An variable is destroyed from the memory here and it is creates a one more new variable an and as a integer variable and assigns the 42. Okay, that is nothing but where the destruction of a an variable is there. Okay, whenever you create the an variable as an integer variable, then the an variable as an object which is created as an object that is destroyed. Okay, so whenever the 42 is assigned, then it destroys the previous variable an. Okay, so that at that point it invokes the destructor and it shows the message as I am destructed and the x variable value. Okay, so whenever you give the print message an contains an and contains, that is an contains an value, it so shows the 42. Okay, why? Because now the an value is 42. Okay, see the output for this. First you'll get the message as I am constructed. Next from the party function you'll get the 1 and 2. Okay, here it shows the I am destructed. Okay, first it destroys the an object. Okay, then it creates the an as an integer variable and assigns the 42. So that you'll get the an value as 42 now. Okay, at this point it is destructed and at the time of destructing the object it calls the destructor. Okay, so is it clear? Here in the Python we don't have any scopes. That is if it is declared within the function we have a scope, but outside the function if a variable is created, okay, then there is no particular scope for the variable. Okay, so that here we are manually destructing the object. Okay, automatically destroy అవ్వాలంటే object the program complete అవ్వాలి. Okay, then only the object will be destroyed. Okay, that you are not able to see. Okay, once you close your program you are not able to see the what is the further output of that. Okay, so that here we are manually destroying the object and we are checking the destructor. Okay, okay, this is about the constructor and destructor methods. Constructor method is for constructing the object. Destructor method is to destroy the object, but these two are invoked at the time of constructing the object and destructing the object. Okay. Constructor method is defined with the name is init and destructor method is defined with the name del. And constructor is invoked automatically whenever the object is constructed. Destructor method is invoked at the time of that is automatically invoked at the time of destructing the object. Okay, and constructor is only we can have more than one for the class and destructor is only one for the class. Okay, once we will see the example for this constructor and destructor using a program. Here we'll create a class. Okay, and we'll see how the destructor and constructor is created. Class. Okay, distance is the class name. Here we'll create the variables as inches. A and B as the two variables. A equals to 0 initially and B equals to 0 initially. Okay, and we'll define the constructor now. DEF, two underscore symbols, INIT, again two underscore symbols, and the default parameter is the self, colon. Okay, now we'll assign some values for the A and B and we'll show the message. Okay. So A equals to 1 is assigned now, B equals to 1 is assigned, and I want to show a message as print. Okay. Distance object is constructed with values A equals to comma B equals to A comma B. Okay, so we created the constructor method. Okay, now we'll create the normal function to display these values. Display self, sorry, here I missed the self dot A, self dot B, here also self dot A, self dot B. Okay. Now display print A equals to comma A variable self dot A comma, now B variable value B equals to self dot B variable. Okay, we'll write a destructor DEF two underscores DEL keyword, again two underscores self parameter colon. Now I will show you some message. Print destructor is invoked. Okay. Just we are showing a message as destructor is invoked. Okay, now I will create the object for this. Okay, distance class D equal to distance. Okay, it calls the constructor. Okay, D dot display, it calls the display function. Okay, now destructor to be invoked. Okay, so that we will assign the some value for the D as the say some 10. Okay, now it shows the destructor also. Okay, output of this is distance object is constructed with the values A equals to 1, B equals to 1, and display function values is A is 1, B is 1, destructor is invoked. Now if you show the D value, print D value, now you will get the value of D as the 10. Okay, why? Because the D variable is destroyed and it is created as a new variable and which is assigned with the value 10, the integer value. Okay. Okay, this is the creation of the constructor and creation of the destructor. Okay, so we can do the some assignment of values for the variables of class in the constructor, and we can do the some removing of values of variables of class in destructors. Okay. Okay, now we'll again move on to the normal topic. I'll see how to create the multiple instances for the same class. So this is already we have seen. Okay, so multiple instances is nothing but multiple objects for the same class. Okay, and we'll see how those objects are isolated with each other. Okay. So here the class is party animal class, and x is a one variable is with a 0. Name is another variable with a two single quotes. These are the two single quotes. That is nothing but initially null value. That is without giving any value. We are giving a normal blank name variable. Okay. And init function, that is constructor function, which is assigns a parameter name NAM, which is assigned to the name variable, and it shows a message as constructed. And party function, which increments the x variable, and here it shows the party count. Okay, so now we are creating a two objects. S is the one object, J is the another object. S object assigns the name as Sally, and J object assigns the name as the Jim. Now whenever you call the S dot party, J dot party, okay, and again we are calling the S dot party. So it has to show the different values. S dot party initial value is 1, J dot party value is also 1. Whenever you call the S dot party again, then it shows the 2 for the S dot party. Okay. Okay, Sally is constructed, constructor of the Sally object and constructor of the same of J object. Okay, Sally party count is 1 and Jim party count is 1. Whenever you call the again the S object party function, it shows the count as the 2. Okay, so these are the multiple instances which we can specify with the different values for the objects. Okay, and for this we'll stop the topic today. And in the next class, we will continue with the data encapsulation, inheritance, and other features of the object-oriented programming. Okay. So thank you for the today's class. Okay. And I think you have another class after. Okay. You can continue with your next class.